Welcome to The Unexpected Guest. I'm John Clese, and I'm coming to you high above the shores of Lake Michigan from my apartment on Lakeshore Drive here in the great city of Chicago. And today we are making, what am I making? We are making a lemon chicken with capers, quinoa, and string beans with garlic. And for those of you that have been watching some of my shows, you know that we're trying to be healthy and we're trying to keep everything in and around 300 calories. I have and continue to struggle with weight my entire life. So I found that one of the best ways for me to stay on some, decent eating regime is I like the process of cooking. All right, so the first thing I'm going to start with is quinoa. And I'm not sure how many of you have started using quinoa, but quinoa is a really fantastic food. It's almost a pure protein. When I was looking at the research for it, they've been eating quinoa for almost 9,000 years. And it's actually very interesting. It's an interesting food. It's a nice change from rice or couscous or anything like that. So you can get white quinoa, which I'm sure you all have seen. You can get red quinoa. They're all grains, or actually they're a seed. And so this is the typical one, which is the white right here. And then I picked up this red one. And it's not cheap. It's not, but you can get this in bulk at a lot of grocery stores. So once you get into the reds and the blacks, it gets a little more expensive. But still not too bad, and a little bit goes a long way, just like it does with rice. And in fact, in my cupboard, I found when I was preparing for the show, I'd already mixed actually a white quinoa and a black quinoa together. But today, we are going to do the red and the white quinoa. So what I'm going to do real quickly, I'm going to measure it out first. Now, here's a couple things that I'm going to do on the show. I didn't have time to remake this beforehand, but I want to cut down the calories. And it is saying on the package that a quarter cup of the dry is 170 calories. Well, that's too much because that's really going to blow my calorie budget. So I'm only going to cook a quarter cup dry, and I'm pretty convinced that we only have to eat half of that. So I think that'll help out. And for those of you that are on Weight Watchers, this entire meal, if we used all of the quinoa, is 7 points. If I can cut it in half, it's only 5 points. So that'll be really good. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quarter cup. I'm actually going to mix a little bit of this. Oh, and I should actually say too, let me point these out. Quinoa doesn't have a lot of flavor, so it takes on the flavor of anything that you want to put on it. So I'm actually going to do some bay leaves, and I'm going to put in some dried mushrooms. These are little porcini mushrooms. You can get dried mushrooms. You know what? You don't have to do this. It's a little expensive, but it does flavor up the stock water, which is very nice. So you can put anything in it you want. Garlic, hot sauce. In fact, I think I do have hot sauce. I'm also going to put in some of the Shiraka sauce. I think that's how you say that. I always forget. But anyway, my niece loves this. And remember, the spicier your food, a lot of times, it helps speed up your metabolism. So it's good to try to get used to eating some spicy food. So, all right, so where was I? I digress. All right, so I'm only going to do a quarter cup of this. So I'm actually going to mix a little bit of this red. Actually, I'll put this over here. My cameraman's always yelling at me to make sure I do everything on this block so he sees it. I'm going to do over here. So this is red and white. They have the same amount of protein, same amount of calories. So don't worry about it. And the nice thing is it's just like rice. It's 2 to 1. So I'm only doing a quarter cup of the quinoa. So I'm actually going to do a half a cup of the water. And actually, let me get that started real quick. So I got a little pan here. Put that on high. I always turn on the wrong burner as I age. So I'm going to do a half a cup of water, and this is going to be a good test. Hopefully I won't burn up the pan. And I'm actually going to put a little splash of salt in it. I don't think you totally, well, yeah, you should. What the heck? Just a little bit of salt. It's not going to kill you. Well, it might kill you if you do too much. All right. So we're going to get that started on high, and I am just going to mix this around with my fingers because, as my friend Paul knows, I love to cook with my fingers. And then I've got to do just a quarter cup. Now, quinoa needs to be rinsed. It's got this little bit of a, I don't know, it's not, a husk is too strong of a word, but you have to clean it off, and you'll see the water gets a little cloudy. So I've got a little bowl of water here, so we didn't have to go over to the sink. So I'm just going to put this in a mesh strainer, right? So this is, obviously this is smaller wires than what you would use if you were draining pasta. So it's got quite a couple of, it's got like 3 layers of wires. So I'm just going to put the quinoa in that. Woo! And that was, well, I guess you should probably run it underwater, but I'm trying to do this. Let's see. All right. Then once we wet it, it's fine. Okay, there we go. So we just want to Rub that around, and you'll see the water will get cloudy. And actually, I can't remember. I think I've tried it without doing this, and it didn't really taste quite the same. So I'm just going to rinse that. You're supposed to do a couple of rinses. You don't think you have to be too fanatical about it. All right, so we get that nice and rinsed. And again, if I was at the sink, if I was you, I would just do this at the sink, and you should be fine. You know what? I feel like I lost a little bit. Woo! Put a little bit in there. Okay, hold on. This is like the old days when we didn't have running water. Not that I grew up in those days, but I'm just imagining what it was like to not have water, right? And then we probably use this as the bath water. Well, if they were eating quinoa for 9,000 years, somebody must have used the quinoa water for bath water. Honey, you smell like quinoa today. Why, thank you. All right, so we have that. Look at this. I'm just going to put this under my sink. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. In fact, if I bring this with the water to the boil first, cold water rinse, add 1 cup quinoa to boiling water. Okay, so that's got to boil. So that's almost there. I'm going to add just a couple of bay leaves. And I'm going to put in a couple of these porcini mushrooms. Not many. These things are expensive. I don't know why dried mushrooms are so expensive. I mean, all they do is dry them out, right? All right, so I'm going to put this in. Now, once my quinoa is in, and it's already boiling, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to simmer it. Put it on simmer, I should say. Put the lid on it. And hopefully I brought the lid. There's the lid. And it should only take about 15 minutes to do, but we shall see. So I'll put my timer on 15 minutes. And there we go. And again, because I've used such little amount of quinoa, I'm a little afraid I'm going to burn it up, but hopefully that won't be the case. So the next thing we're going to do is the string beans. So I got some string beans from the grocery store, and obviously you get them in a bag. You can get them organic if you want to. I don't always buy everything organic because it's too expensive. And then all you want to do with the string beans is you want to just snap off this little piece. And I'll just stick it over here. So you just want to snap these off. Right, pictures of the farm. I always think that's so interesting, right? You always have people, you always see pictures of people down on the farm doing whatever, picking their little string beans. Oh, I should tell you, and I said this before, Rosie O'Donnell has moved to our neighborhood. Rosie is now in Chicago. She's taken over the studio in the West Loop from Oprah. So we got a picture of Rosie on the set. Hello, Rosie. Look at that. You like a little string bean? So we got Rosie O'Donnell on the set today because I want to get on the Rosie show. And I also want Rosie to come on my show. I've told Rosie I will make her anything she wants. It doesn't have to be healthy. I don't know what Rosie's eating these days, but you can eat healthy, you can go off or whatever. In my next show, I'm doing a deep dish pizza, so maybe she'll like to eat that one. All right, so I just got these all trimmed up. I already rinsed them. That's done. And I'm going to heat up a pan. Going to use my all-clad medium pan. Or I should say medium high, and I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in it. Oh, and I'm going to add some garlic too. So let's put that on the back. Woo! Oh my gosh, who is this? Rosie. It's Rosie, I can't talk. I'm on the show. I'm on the show. No, I got a picture of you. You look great. Your mouth is open though. But I'll get you another one. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye. So obviously Rosie can call, but she can't seem to make it to the show, but whatever, I'll forgive her. She's a star. All right, garlic. And I need, so, you know, again, as much garlic as you want. I'm gonna just do probably 3 cloves. Get rid of my bay leaves. I got 3 cloves of garlic. Because that's only, well, that's a little bit more than 1 serving. So I should say again, of course, I measure everything out, and the scale, which I got, this is my Good Grip scale, which again, if you're watching your calories, this is really imperative for you to be able to measure your ingredients. So for this recipe, once they're done, we're only going to do 3.5 ounces of green beans. So we'll measure that. We'll measure that a little bit later. All right, I need a sip of my coffee. Okay, so garlic. Garlic, garlic, garlic. So with the garlic, just take your knife, smash it down once, and you get the husk off. Should get the husk off. My grandmother, when they're like pureeing or dicing the garlic, she always puts salt on the board, which stops it all from sliding away. All right, now we're just going to take our knife. Be careful. Remember, use it up against your knuckles, right? And we're just going to slice away. You could also put this in a garlic press. And I'm saying to myself, why don't I use a garlic press? I don't know. Good question. I have a great one. Another good grips. That's actually a great little line for those of you that are starting out in cooking. They make a wonderful product. And in fact, what it looks like, if you haven't seen one, this is the one that I have, this is a really great garlic press. And in fact, well, I'll show you. You just put the garlic in here, and then you push it down. I'll put it in this. I like to put it in the olive oil, but you push that down, and then it comes out. Now, it does sort of pulverize them a little bit, but that's okay, because a lot of people don't want big chunks. And then you open it up, and it's got little inserts that go into the holes, and then you can just take it out, and you get all of that stuff too, which is nice. So it really does a lot with the garlic. All right, so let's see if our olive oil is hot. I'm going to turn that up a little bit so it's not quite hot. All right. So we have the string beans and the garlic, and we've got the quinoa in the back, and then we're going to cut up some chickens. Once I get that onto the pan, put this aside. As big as my kitchen table is, I feel like I need a bigger kitchen table. All right. So I'm not going to cut these up anymore because I actually don't mind chunks of garlic in my food, but I am going to put this in the pan. Now I'm putting this garlic into the hot oil because I want to flavor the oil. So take this over here, and I'll just show you. It's not going to be too hot. If it's too hot, you're going to end up browning the garlic. And you know, and that's actually got its place. I don't mind brown garlic, but you see how that just little sizzle? You got a picture of that, John? Just a little bit. It's a nice little sizzle we got going. You can smell it. Well, you can't, but as soon as you hit the garlic, excuse me, as soon as it hits the olive oil, you're really just flavoring that olive oil. It's got all that nice flavor. And so then you don't actually need a piece of garlic to flavor everything. You've got an oil infused with the garlic taste. All right. I'm going to put that on the back. I'm going to add my string beans. Probably a little bit much for that pan, so I'm not going to put all in. Now, I love tongs. As you watch the shows, you've got to get a good pair of tongs. These really become your second hand when you're in the kitchen. And if you have a non-stick pan, which we're not cooking with today, they make tongs with the rubber on the outside so you don't scratch the non-stick surface, which is a very nice little tool to get. But my all-clad has been well used, so I'm not that worried about scratching it. Just toss this around a little bit. And we'll put a little bit of pepper on it. And just a little bit of salt. And it gets my salt back over there. All right, that's going fine. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm going to turn this down to medium-high. So that's a 5 on my stove. All right, now we're going to do the chicken. Wasn't that clever to put something under the counter? I thought it was anyway. Kudos to me. All right, chicken. Be very careful with the chicken. Again, anything that you touch with the raw chicken, you want to make sure you wash your hands. And the best way to prepare chicken is to use a plastic cutting board because you can wash these a little more easily. Now, you are going to get stuff into the cracks, but that's why people use it. You can also stick these, you know, I've never done that, but I guess you can also stick these in the dishwasher if you want to. So I'm going to get my chicken out of my fridge. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right there. There's our boneless, skinless chicken breast that I got here in Chicago at Jewel Osco. Now, I want to tell you, you can buy the chicken that has already been sliced a little more thinly, and it actually makes it really nice for a dish. But you know what? You pay like more than $1 a pound. So one of the things I wanted to show you today is take the chicken breast if you don't want to cook the big fatties, and you can cut them yourself, right? You can cut them up yourself. thinner. So I'm going to open this package up. I'm going to try to really keep one of my hands clean so I don't have to touch this. And there's all that fat, so we're going to have to trim that fat off there too. Right? And it's very important. I have a trash can that I step on with my foot, which is really nice. And then I have a little pump soap in the kitchen so that I can just sort of touch that without having to, pump the soap without having to touch the chicken. All right, so, but for right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this up a little bit. And sometimes if, where there's little joints in the chicken, like in here sometimes, that's sort of nasty to eat. I don't really like that, so I cut that stuff off. So I'm just going to trim all this chicken up. And this, now remember with chicken is really one of the best proteins you can get for the calories. So you only get 4 ounces for your serving of chicken. But believe me, you will come to realize that that is plenty. What do you think, Rosie? Look at her with that mouth open. I hope she likes that picture. You don't think that's going to stop me from getting on the show, do you? It was really a good picture. She's got some old pictures with a mullet. I didn't think she liked the mullet. So I chose that one. All right, so we've got our chicken. Now, hopefully, you know what, I'm not sure this knife is sharp enough. I'm going to wash my hands. Don't leave me. I'll be right there. Here's the other secret when you're cooking with chicken and turkey. Use paper towels. Don't necessarily use your dish rags because you're inevitably going to touch them again. I'm going to go to my string beans for a second. Where's my... Whoa. And this is a little high. My garlic is a little brown. But that's okay because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a little bit of water. Into the pan. And that's all going to get absorbed up, so that's fine. Okay. How's my little quinoa? I know I'm not supposed to touch it. Ooh. I'm getting a little bit nervous, but 4 minutes left. All right, so that's good. That's on. Okay, back to my chicken. So, I know why I wash my hand, because I want to use a sharper knife. And I have this little knife sharpener. Not that expensive. Little chef's choice. And it's actually so easy now. This other side is for a serrated knife. All right. I'm taking this knife and sticking it. Oh, my bus is ready. And all I'm going to do is put these on the side. No, that doesn't work. Need more space. I'm going to do this. So keep your hand up, keep your fingers up like this, and I'm going to basically put the knife about halfway in the thickness of the chicken, and I'm just going to run my sharp knife right through it. Now, I'm sorry, that is not worth an extra $1 a pound, so do it yourself. All right, so here we go. Do this one again. Fingers up, right? And then just find halfway through and slide. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like that is clearly not perfect, but it's fine. And then we'll cut this one. And the other nice thing is about this is they will cook faster. Okay. All right, so we got our chicken. Now, I'm going to wash my hands again, which you always must do. That's washed. I'm going to get my frying pan going for my chicken. Now, very important that you have your olive oil hot when you're cooking this. I don't use the nonstick pans for this. I tend to only use a nonstick pan for an omelet or fish. So again, this is my all-clad. I think these are aluminum core, and they're stainless, and I love to cook in these. So I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in, not much. You can use the sprays, but I've told you before, I feel like I spray my whole counter when I do that, so I don't do it. All right. So that goes on the back. So we're going to warm that up, and I need to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this extra chicken stuff here. This back. String beans are looking good. You can tell when a string bean is done. Well, you can tell, I should say, to the likeness of what you want it done by when it snaps, right? So if you want it really mushy, obviously it'll bend all the way over. That's still pretty crunchy. That's not done yet for me. So, All right, and our quinoa is done in 1 minute, which is great. Now I should say, so we've got lemons. We're going to squeeze lemons on the chicken when they're done. And we're also going to use these capers. I've always thought of capers as sort of little olives, but actually I found out today that they are the, what are they? They're a bud. They're actually the bud of a flower. Wait, I've got my notes here. They're a bud of a flower in the Mediterranean that it's an unripened bud that you eat. So anyway, they taste like little olives, which is really good. So we're going to use a couple of tablespoons of that onto our chicken. So let me just check this quinoa. So here's what the quinoa looks like. There's the bay leaves that are in there. I always test it. See, it moved around, but there's no water in it. There's no more water in it. So that's basically it. And I can leave that on a little bit longer. Let me just taste it. That's good. All right. So once that totally is done, we set that on the stove. We just leave it on the stove for about another 10 minutes. All right, now I'm going to put my chicken in. Now this should be a little bit of a sizzle if I did it right. Hear that? Ooh. As I cook the bottom. That is not going to stick to the pan. All right, and don't crowd your pan. Put that back. My timer. All right, chicken's on. I'm going to get rid of this. Because that's raw, and I'm not going to make the rest of this. I'll make the rest of this later. All right, chicken is on. The quinoa, I'm going to turn the quinoa off. And now that just sits on the stove like that. And that should be good. And I'm going to check. I need another pair of tongs because I've used my old tongs for the chicken. And I'm going to do my string bean. And so let's just take a look at those. So those are really getting to be nice. We got the garlic. And because I put the water in, anything that was burning on the bottom is really now just becoming flavor for the green bean. And I just love green beans. You can eat a lot of these and not bring up your calorie count, that's for sure. All right, we'll put those in the back. So the chicken. I'm going to do the chicken for about 5 minutes, and then I'm actually going to flip them over, and then I'm going to put the lid on it, and then I turn the heat way down or even off, and I just let them finish cooking off heat. And again, if you've got an electric stove, that's really something you need to learn how to do, because if I had flames, as soon as I cut the flame, obviously I cut the heat, but in a pan like that, the heat goes away pretty quickly, unlike a cast iron skillet. So it's perfectly fine for you to turn it off and learn how to sort of cook with the heat, the residual heat of the stove. So the other thing I am going to do is I'm going to salt and pepper the breast. And then if I've done those right, then they are not going to stick to the pan. Capers, I'm only going to use 2 tablespoons of these capers. And the capers, you know, again, I do count a lot of calories, but there's some things like with the capers, you know what, I'm not going to count the capers. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I was going to use this, make my quinoa hot, so I'm going to squeeze some of the sriracha sauce in here now. Actually. Okay. That's it. I'll stir that up when that's all done. But I do want to use that to make it good. All right, 2 tablespoons of these. This is a very small jar, so I can't get my thing in now. And use them to your liking. These are salty, actually, so these are pretty salty. So we've got that. And I also want to get my lemon ready, so I'm going to squeeze this onto my chicken. And I did have this, oh, I bet you I don't even have it with me. Now I have this great little thing for my lemon, but I don't have it with me. So, all right, what do I need? I need my cup again. Just put my lemon in this. But what you can do is you can take a spoon, you can just stick the spoon in, and you can get all that nice lemon juice out of that. Now you can also put this right into the chicken, actually. Maybe I'll do that. I don't worry about the seeds. You know what, I'm just cooking for myself. I'm going to pick it out. So. All right, we got that done. Now let's check this chicken. All right, so here's what I want to show you. So you see how it starts to get white around the edges here? That's pretty much ready for it to flip over. This one got up a little high. But when you see that, it's starting to go. If it was pink all the way around to the edges, you're not going to flip it. But these should be pretty much ready to flip over. And if I've done my job and I don't make a fool of myself, they shouldn't stick. There we go, look at that. Comes right over and you got that nice, beautiful brown. Don't be afraid to cook chicken in a skillet like this. Look at that, comes right off the pan. This one, let's see, ooh. That one not so much because you know what, that one wasn't really on the heat, so that one's not quite as good, but there you go. So you get that nice, beautiful crust to the chicken. I'll put this back. Now I took it off for a second to show you, so I'm going to let this sit on for about a minute or two, and then I'm going to put the lid on it, and I'm just going to cut the heat. Another tong down because we've got raw chicken in there. Now what I'm going to do here is, I'm just going to pour, I'm going to do a little more lemon juice. I actually love lemon. But that even might be too much for me. Now, if you do want to strain your lemon, you know what? All you got to do is stick your fingers in here and pull out the seed. Yes, my hands are clean, sort of. Okay, so I'm going to do the chicken and put a little bit of lemon juice on them. I'm going to put the lid on my pan, and I'm just going to cut the heat. I'm going to turn them off, and I'm going to forget about it. Oh, and you know what? I am going to mess up these string beans if it's the last thing I do. All right, so see what I've done in my pan, right? Yuck. I'm just going to put a little bit of water in it. And actually, you get all that nice glaze. See, it comes right off the pan. And you're fine. Don't worry about it, you're fine. As long as it doesn't get burnt, you're not going to have a burnt flavor. So it's like a nice roasted garlic flavor. And in fact, I think, did I use all that? Oh, I did use a little lemon. I think I'm going to put a little lemon on these. Okay, those are good. All right. I'm going to put those on low, and I actually think we should be able to plate up pretty quickly. However, I have a feeling looking at that quinoa that in fact you do eat an entire quarter cup of dry quinoa because that did not look like, excuse me, oh, this is a mess. That did not look like enough food for me to eat. So I thought I could, but maybe we'll see when we fluff it up. All right. How you doing, Rosie? Rosie's like, I'm hungry. I'm like, I know, it's coming, it's coming. Okay. I gotta get my glasses fixed. All right, here's the spoon. So then you just want to fluff this up a little bit. And obviously I want to take out these bay leaves. And I just put those in for a little bit of, a little bit of flavor. And the mushrooms that we put in, so here's the mushrooms, ouch. So the mushrooms have gotten, they've got water now, they're really, I'll pull one out. So now the mushrooms are very soft, right? So it's not that hard dried mushroom anymore, and you can just eat it. And I put that Shiraka sauce in. So now this is actually, yeah, I guess you are going to eat all this. All right, so this meal actually, then the calorie count is actually going to be, it's a little more than it's 391 calories because of the quinoa. The quinoa that I've added to this dish is 170 calories of the dish. The chicken itself is 186, but we get 35 grams of protein from that. Whereas this is giving us 5 grams of protein. So if you don't want that many calories, you can strip away and not put the quinoa on this dish and just eat the chicken and a lot of string beans and you'll be totally filled up. It's got fiber, it's got protein. Let me get a plate. Now I am going to measure out the string beans like I said. Rosie, look out, baby. All right. So with these scales, what you do is I get a bowl. Turn on your scale, put the bowl on it, and then we zero it out, so now the bowl doesn't weigh anything. And for this recipe, I'm doing 3½ ounces of cooked green beans. Turn off the stove. And again, you know what, you'll get used to this after a while in terms of understanding how much a portion is. But when you're first getting started and really trying to control your weight a little bit more and trying to control your portions, weigh the stuff, because you are going to be shocked about how much 4 ounces is. It is not, believe me, it's not what you're used to eating. That's 3 ounces. And it's be good to know fractions. There you go, 3½. Now what I am going to do actually, because we're dieting, we're going to use every little bit of flavor we can. So I'm going to take some of this juice and eat it. In fact, I'm going to get some of the garlic. Garlic! Who doesn't love garlic? So I've got this nice garlic, and I got some more of these juices. Got my string beans. And again, remember, this isn't taking a lot of time, but look at all the stuff that you're doing. Like you're actually in the kitchen, you're cooking, if you've seen my other shows, to pop a meatball in your mouth if you're really hungry, my turkey meatballs. But it gives you it satisfies that tactile sensation of making your food. And I think that's critical to keeping your weight off. I took off the 50, I put back on 15, I've taken off another 10, and I always get back to measuring my food. And that really helps out. Now this is, you know what? I don't think I need all of this. So I'm only going to use half of this. I think that's plenty. Am I cheating, everybody? That's about half, right? That's about half. I'll take a little bit more. Take a little bit more. So that's half. All right, so I'm going to say that a 1/4 cup of quinoa, you only need to eat half of it. And that is a good thing, because that means that I can take this entire dish down to 306 calories. So with eating just half of the 1/4 cup of dry quinoa, I cut that quinoa to 85 calories. So that makes me much happier. All right. And it's good for me to be happy. Whoa. All right, our chicken. Now we got our chicken. Our chicken is done. I can feel it. Chicken, I forget the temperature. 100 and, don't quote me, I'm not going to say because I forget. But you can usually feel and tell, and if it, with the chicken, if your finger doesn't go in too much, it's totally cooked through. Now, I am going to measure the chicken too, because we only want 4 ounces of chicken. So I'm going to put my bowl back on. It had the string beans, it's fine. So I'm going to zero that out. Zero, hello. And let's see how much this little guy is. So that's, all right, you can use a little bit more. I'm just going to cut a little piece off. I'm going to be really particular on this guy. And you need to be Okay, there we go. That is 4 ounces. So folks, this is a 4 ounce serving of chicken. That's it. That's what you should be eating now. Got the chicken. Did I throw all those lemons away? I did. I'll tell you what I am going to do is, again, just because you're eating for you're making dinner for yourself or whatever, doesn't mean that you shouldn't spend a little bit of time in making it all. Not only spend the time cooking it, but also make it look pretty. And here's another secret. Make a lot of this stuff on the weekends. I always cook, just like with those meatballs, I do a big thing of chicken breasts on a Sunday, and I cook them and I use them for lots of different stuff. I reheat them up, but then I have them all week long, and I don't have to worry about it when I come home from work, right? So, and I'm less tempted to go and eat the junk food that's in the freezer. All right, so I got a lemon, squeeze a little bit more lemon. I got a nice little lemon wedge, and then I've got my capers. Boy, I am using every dish in the kitchen as usual. And then little capers. You know what? I don't even need all those capers. That's plenty. A little bit more pepper for the plate, just because we want to be fancy. Look at that, Rosie, huh? Rosie's like, yum. All right. She's not gonna like me doing that with her picture, but come on, Rosie, that's a really good meal. All right, take a look at that. So that is chicken with lemon and capers. This is our red and white quinoa that we put some dry porcini mushrooms in, as well as some shiraka sauce and some bay leaves for flavor. And here I have string beans with garlic. And again, if you're on Weight Watchers, now that we were able to cut the quinoa in half, this is only 5 points. If you're on the Weight Watchers program, 306 calories, and get this, 40 grams of protein. So 306 calories and 40 grams of protein. That's a lot of protein in this meal right here. And you know, fiber and carbs, and it's all really good for you. So enjoy that dish. That is a mainstay for me, eating the chicken. All right, so again, thank you so much for joining me. My name again is John Clese on The Unexpected Guest. And if I can bring a little bit of healthy food to you and keep you on track, I totally understand what it is to trying to maintain your weight or lose weight. I've done it my whole life, and I'm sure I will always be doing it. But measuring your food, counting your calories is the only thing that's ever worked for me. So, as I like to say, be good to yourself because there's no substitute for you. And we'll see you the next time on The Unexpected Guest.